The galaxy was wide, endless, and full of voices. Worlds turned under the rule of mighty alien empires. Starships crossed the black ocean of space. Armies marched. Traders bargained. Travelers told stories in every station and every bar. But among all those voices, there was one name spoken with fear. Her name was whispered, never shouted. Some called her a traitor. Others called her cursed. Most called her too damaged, too difficult. She was a warrior once. She had fought in wars no one wanted to remember. She had carried blades and fire into battles where entire cities burned. Her body still carried the marks, scars across her arms, a broken leg that never healed right, and eyes that looked too long into shadows. When people saw her, they did not see a woman. They saw danger. They saw trouble. They saw someone who did not belong, and so she walked alone. From one planet to another, from one station to the next, she searched for a place to rest. But the galaxy gave her no welcome. On a desert moon, merchants chased her away. On a floating city, guards blocked her path. On a mining world, she worked for a week, but when her scars were seen, she was told to leave. Too dangerous, they said. Too broken, they said. No one wants you, they said. And maybe they were right. Every night, when the stars were cold and far, she sat by herself and thought about the battles. She remembered the screams. She remembered the faces of people she could not save. Her heart was heavy, full of guilt. She told herself she deserved the silence, the loneliness, the fear in other people's eyes. But fate does not always listen to what we believe. One day, in a crowded alien city, her path crossed with someone unexpected. The city was a maze of towers and neon light. Alien markets filled the air with strange music and sharper smells. Traders shouted in 10 languages. Thieves watched from dark corners. Soldiers stood with weapons ready. She walked through the crowd with her hood pulled low. Eyes followed her. Whispers started. Some moved aside, afraid. Others muttered insults. A child pointed and the mother pulled him away. She was used to this. She had seen it on 100 worlds. She kept walking, but then she felt it. Not fear, not hate. Something else. A pair of eyes watching her not with disgust but with curiosity. She turned her head and there he was. A human. Humans were rare in this part of space. Small, fragile, young compared to the ancient alien races. Most called them weak. Some called them reckless. But no one ignored them, not anymore. Rumors spread that humans could survive things others could not. That humans were strange, stubborn, impossible to break. This human was tall, not strong like an armored soldier, but he carried himself with quiet confidence. His eyes met hers, steady, calm, unafraid. She frowned. People usually looked away. He did not. She stopped. So did he. For a long moment they stood in the crowd, alien voices and lights rushing around them. It felt as if the city itself held its breath. Finally the human stepped closer, no weapon in his hand. No soldiers behind him, no fear in his face. He simply raised his hand. It was not a command, not a threat, just an offer, a hand reaching out. Her chest tightened, her breath caught. She had been called many things. Monster, traitor, cursed. No one had offered her a hand in years. No one had dared. Her first thought was suspicion. Was it a trick? Was he mocking her? Was he one more fool who thought he could tame the broken blade she carried inside her? Her second thought was fear. If she touched that hand, if she accepted, what would happen? Would she bring death to this strange human as she had to so many others? And yet there was something in his eyes. A strength she had not seen before. A warmth she had forgotten existed. Her fingers trembled. The crowd moved around them. But in that moment it felt like only 2 people existed in the galaxy. An outcast who had lost everything, and a human who dared to stand before her without fear. She wanted to walk away. She wanted to run. It would be safer. It would be easier, but she could not move, because for the first time in years, someone had not turned their back. Someone had not called her broken. Someone had offered her a choice. The air seemed to grow heavy. Her heart beat louder. The city noise blurred into a low hum. Her hand rose slowly, almost against her will. It hovered above his, so close. She stopped, frozen, her mind screaming. Would she take it? Would she risk it? Or would she pull back and remain forever the outcast? The answer was not yet clear. But one thing was certain. The galaxy had just changed because no one wanted her. Until a human held out his hand. and that was the beginning. The city lights burned bright, but the moment between them was brighter. Her hand hovered uncertain above his. The human did not move, did not rush, did not demand. He only waited, his eyes steady, his face calm. For her, waiting was new. Aliens had always given her two choices: obey or leave. No one had ever offered her time. No one had given her freedom to choose. And so, she stood there, frozen in the noise of the market. A shadow passed across her thoughts. She remembered battles. Orders screamed in her ears, fire raining down, the blood of friends and enemies alike. Her heart whispered, "You cannot escape what you are. You will destroy anyone who stands too close." Her fingers trembled. For one heartbeat, she wanted to touch his hand. For the next heartbeat, she wanted to turn and run. Finally, she pulled her hand back. The human did not frown. He did not laugh. He only lowered his arm as if nothing had been lost, and then he smiled, not a wide smile. Not mocking, a simple curve of his lips, warm and quiet. She felt her chest tighten. Why would he smile at her? Everyone else only showed her fear or anger. He spoke then, his voice low, steady and soft. "You look like someone who has carried too much for too long." The word struck her like a blade. She had been called cursed, broken, dangerous, but never someone who carried too much. Her first instinct was anger. She wanted to snarl, to push him away, to tell him he knew nothing. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw no pity. Only truth, and that truth was harder to fight than any enemy. She said nothing. She only turned and walked deeper into the market. She expected him to let her go. Everyone always did, but footsteps followed her. The human walked behind her, keeping distance, not forcing, not chasing, simply following. She spun on him at last, her voice sharp like a knife. "Why are you here? Do you not understand who I am?" The human did not step back. He stood firm. "I understand enough," he said. "I see someone alone when no one should be." Her breath caught. She hated those words. No one should be alone. She had told herself that was her punishment, her curse. Now this human dared to deny it. "Stay away," she warned. "I bring only death." The human tilted his head. "Maybe, but death walks everywhere in this galaxy. Life is harder to find. And I think you still have it." The words unsettled her. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Before she could answer, voices rose in the crowd. A group of alien thugs pushed through the market, weapons hidden under cloaks, eyes sharp. They were bounty hunters. She knew their kind. She had seen their marks burned into flesh. They had come for her. The market shifted. Civilians moved away, sensing trouble. The hunters spread, surrounding her. Their leader sneered, his teeth sharp like glass. "Found you at last, outcast. The price on your head will feed us for years." Her body tensed. She reached for her blade, old instincts ready to kill. But the human stepped forward before she could. "Wait," he said, calm as stone. "You don't want this fight." The hunters laughed. "And who are you, little human, to stand in our way?" "Someone who doesn't step aside," the human answered. His voice was soft, but it carried weight. Like iron hidden under cloth. The leader snarled and moved closer. His hand ready to strike, she prepared to fight. But what happened next froze her. The human did not draw a weapon. He only stood taller, his gaze steady. And somehow, the hunters hesitated. They saw something in him, something not weak, not fragile. Something that reminded them of stories whispered about humans. A fire that never died. The leader growled, but he stepped back, motioning his group to follow. "This is not over," he spat. "She is ours. No human hand will save her." And with that they vanished into the crowd. Silence fell. The market breathed again. She turned to the human, shocked. Why would you stand for me? You don't even know me." The human looked at her, calm and certain. "I don't need to know everything. I only see someone worth saving." Her heart pounded. His words cut through the walls she had built around herself. Worth saving. No one had said those words to her before. She stared at him, searching for lies, for tricks, for hidden motives. But his face was steady, his eyes clear. He truly believed it. And in that moment, she realized something dangerous. This human was not afraid of her, and that made him the most dangerous person she had ever met. Because fear, she understood. Fear kept people away. But trust, kindness, hope, those were weapons she did not know how to fight. And deep inside, where she had long buried all feeling, a spark flickered. Not yet fire. Not yet light, Just a spark. But it was enough to make her wonder. Maybe, just maybe, she was not alone anymore. The city never slept, but for her the night felt endless. She sat alone in a dark corner, her back against the cold wall. The human's words echoed in her mind. I see someone worth saving. No one had ever said that before. And it scared her more than any enemy. Humans were strange, too young as a species, too reckless, too fragile. Yet this one had stood against hunters without a weapon, without fear. He had looked at her scars and had not turned away. Why? The question kept her awake. When the first light of dawn touched the towers, footsteps came. She tensed, hand on her blade. But it was him, the human. Calm as always. He crouched beside her, not too close, not too far. They will be back, he said. The hunters. And more after them. You can't fight them all alone. She narrowed her eyes. And what do you want from me? Why follow me? He gave a small smile. I'm leaving this city. I have a ship, a crew. We travel from world to world. Maybe you should come with us. Her heart jumped. A ship, a crew? For someone like her? She shook her head. No, wherever I go, danger follows. If I join you, you will all die. The human's eyes didn't waver. Danger follows everyone. The difference is we don't run from it. The words cut through her like a blade. She had spent years running, hiding, surviving. And here was this fragile creature offering her a place without fear. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to stay alone. But her voice betrayed her. Why me? He looked at her steady. Because everyone else sees a weapon. I see a person. Her chest tightened. She had no answer. And so, when the sun rose higher, she followed him. The spaceport was a storm of sound and steel. Ships roared as they took off, engines shaking the ground. Merchants shouted prices. Smugglers whispered in shadows. Guards checked passes, scanning every face. She pulled her hood low, but still felt eyes on her scars. Old instinct told her to turn back, to vanish into the alleys. But the human walked beside her, steady, calm. Somehow his presence anchored her steps. At last they reached a small ship, painted with marks of old journeys. It was not beautiful, not powerful, but alive. A working vessel carrying stories of many worlds. The ramp lowered and the human gestured. Welcome to the ardent dawn. The name felt strange in her ears, bright, full of hope. She almost turned away, but her feet moved forward. Inside, the air smelled of oil, metal, and something warm. Food. Voices echoed. She tensed as shapes appeared. The crew. They were not soldiers. They were not perfect. A mix of species. A short engineer with grease-stained hands, a tall medic with calm eyes, a pilot who hummed old songs under his breath. All looked up when they saw her. Their smiles froze. Their chatter died. She saw the same fear she had seen 1,000 times. Whispers started. Is that her? She's dangerous. Why is she here? Her stomach twisted. She had known it. This was a mistake. She turned to leave. But the human stepped forward, his voice firm. She is with me. She has a place here. The words silenced the crew. Some frowned. Some looked uncertain. But none argued. She stared at him, shocked. He had claimed her, not as a weapon, not as a curse. But as a crew member, it felt impossible. The engineer muttered, She'll bring us trouble. The medic answered softly, Maybe trouble is what we need. The crew returned to their tasks, uneasy but silent. She remained near the door, tense, unsure if she belonged. The days that followed were strange. She ate with them, though she spoke little. She watched them laugh, argue, plan their next run. The pilot told stories of close escapes. The engineer cursed at engines. The medic patched small wounds, and through it all they treated her. Not like a monster, not like a ghost. They gave her space, but also a seat at the table. It confused her. At night, alone in her cabin, she touched her scars and whispered to herself, This cannot last. They will see what I am. They will fear me. They will send me away. But morning came, and they did not. Then danger came faster than expected. On the third night in space, alarms screamed. A ship appeared on their sensors, fast, armed, and hungry. Pirates. The crew panicked, shouting over one another. The human stood at the center, calm. We can't outrun them, the pilot warned. We can't outgun them, the engineer cursed. Then we fight smart, the human said. All eyes turned to her. She felt their fear. They knew her past. They knew what she could do. For a heartbeat, she wanted to step back, to remain silent. But the human's gaze met hers, steady, trusting. Something inside her shifted. She stood, her voice low and sharp. "Prepare the defenses. I will fight." The crew hesitated, but the human nodded. "Then we stand together." The pirates closed in. Weapons lit the void. The ardent dawn shook under fire. Fear filled the air, but she moved like a storm unleashed. Old instincts burned awake. She directed the defense, her blade flashing when borders broke through. For the first time in years, she was not fighting alone. The crew fought beside her, clumsy but brave. And the human, he stood in the heart of chaos, calm as ever, firing steady shots, never leaving her side. When the last pirate fell, silence filled the ship. The crew stared at her, breathing hard, eyes wide. She waited for fear, for rejection. But then the pilot laughed nervously. "Remind me never to fight against her," the engineer muttered. "She saved us." And the medic whispered, "Maybe she belongs here." Her chest tightened. Belonging. A word she had long buried. The human stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder, not forcing, not claiming, just steady. "You fought for us. That's all that matters." And for the first time she felt it. Maybe she was no longer an outcast. Maybe she was part of something again. The battle with the pirates left the ardent dawn scarred. Hull plates burned, alarms still echoed, and smoke drifted through the corridors. But the crew was alive. Alive. Because of her. She sat alone in the cargo bay, her blade resting across her knees. Her hands shook, not from weakness but from memory. She had fought like the old days, brutal, merciless, unstoppable. The storm inside her had returned, and she feared what the crew had seen. Would they look at her now with the same eyes as the rest of the galaxy? Eyes full of fear? Eyes that said monster? The door hissed open. She tensed. Footsteps came closer. It was the human. He didn't speak at first. He only stood nearby, watching her carefully. Finally, he said softly, "You saved us." Her grip on the blade tightened. "I lost control. I fought like I used to." "You saw it," he nodded slowly. "I saw someone protecting her crew." Her chest ached. "That's not what they will see." Later at the dinner table, she felt it. The crew's eyes on her. They tried to act normal, eating, talking, but their glances were sharp, quick, unsure. The pilot forced a laugh. "Well, at least we survived." The engineer muttered. "Survived because she cut through pirates like they were nothing." The medic, calm as always, asked quietly, "And what would have happened if she didn't?" The room went silent, her stomach twisted. She pushed away her food and stood. "This is what I warned you. I fight, yes. I kill, yes. But when you look at me, you see the blade, not the person. And blades break things." Her voice was sharp, but inside she was breaking herself. She turned to leave, but the human's voice stopped her. "You are right," he said. "Blades do break things, but they also protect. They defend. The difference is not the blade, it's the hand that holds it." She froze. Slowly she turned back. The human's eyes were steady, clear. "Your past is full of battles. Full of scars. But scars are proof that you survived. They do not make you less. They make you more." The crew looked at him, then at her. Their eyes softened. Not all, not completely, but enough. For the first time she felt a shift. Maybe they could see more than the weapon. That night she could not sleep. Memories clawed at her mind. Her old commanders shouting orders, her hands covered in blood, her enemies' screams. She saw the faces of people she could not save, of friends who had fallen. Her scars burned like fire. She rose, pacing the narrow cabin. The blade called to her, whispering of violence. She hated it, yet she could not let it go. It was part of her as much as her broken leg, as much as her shadowed heart. Then she remembered the human's words. "It's not the blade, it's the hand that holds it." Could that be true? Could she be more than the monster she feared? Her thoughts were broken by alarms. Again, the ship shuddered under sudden fire. Red lights filled the corridors. The pilot's voice shouted over the intercom. "Enemy ship approaching. Bigger than pirates, armed with heavy cannons." She grabbed her blade and rushed out. The crew scrambled, engines roared, shields flickered. The enemy was stronger. This was no raid. This was a hunt. She saw the human in the command chair, calm but tense. "Everyone to stations." We hold until we can jump, she joined the fight. Enemy boarders crashed into the ship. The corridors filled with chaos. She moved like lightning, her blade cutting through armor and flesh. The storm returned, fast, merciless. The crew fought too, but it was her fury that held the line. She roared, she struck, she bled. The broken blade inside her burned brighter than ever. When the last enemy fell, the ship was in ruins. Blood stained the floors. Silence followed. The crew looked at her. Fear flickered in their eyes. She stood over the fallen, chest heaving, blade dripping. For a moment she felt the old curse again. Monster. She dropped the blade. Her knees weakened. She whispered, "This is who I am. You cannot trust me." But the human walked forward, slowly, carefully through the blood and smoke until he stood before her. He placed a hand on her shoulder, firm but gentle. "No," he said. "This is not who you are. This is what you do when we are in danger." There is a difference, her eyes widened. His gaze did not waver. "You are not a monster. You are our shield." The words struck deeper than any wound. The crew was silent, but none spoke against him. The medic even nodded softly. "She kept us alive." "That is the truth," the engineer muttered. "I still don't like it, but I can't argue." The pilot sighed. "Better to have her with us than against us." It was not full trust. Not yet. But it was more than she had ever known. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe, just a little, that maybe she could belong. But in the shadows of the enemy wreckage, unseen, a signal pulsed across space, a message sent. A name spoken. Her name. Far away, an old enemy stirred. Eyes narrowed. Teeth bared. "She still lives," the voice growled. "Then I will come for her myself." The galaxy did not forget her. No matter how far the ardent dawn traveled, no matter how many stars they crossed, whispers followed. Whispers of the outcast. Whispers of the broken warrior who should have died long ago. And now those whispers had reached ears she feared most. Far away, on a world of stone and fire, her old enemy stirred. A warlord who once commanded her, who once chained her, who once called her weapon. He had thought she was gone, destroyed in the last war. But when the signal came, the proof she still lived, his fury lit like wildfire. "She runs with humans now," he growled, his claws digging into the metal throne. "Then I will tear them apart, one by one, until she crawls back to me." His fleet prepared to move. On the ardent dawn, life continued as if nothing had changed. The crew laughed louder now, argued less, as if battles had brought them closer. She still sat apart, but not as far as before. She had begun to help, fixing damaged panels, training with the pilot, watching the medic work. The engineer still eyed her with suspicion, but he no longer spat insults. Small steps. And yet inside her the storm never fully rested. Every night she dreamed of chains, of the warlord's voice commanding her to kill, of blood staining her hands while he laughed. She woke with a start, her blade beside her, sweat cold on her skin. She told herself the past was gone. But the past was coming. It began on a trade station. The ardent dawn had stopped to gather supplies. The market was busy, full of merchants and travelers. She walked with the human, hood low, scanning the crowd. Then she heard it, a voice, rough, cold, familiar. "She's here." The outcast. The warlord's blade. Her blood froze. She turned sharply. At a nearby stall, alien mercenaries whispered among themselves, pointing at her. Their eyes were sharp, hungry. The human noticed her tension. "What is it?" She gritted her teeth. "They know me. And if they know me, then he knows too." The mercenaries moved quickly, spreading word. By the time the crew returned to the ship, the air was thick with stares and whispers. Traders pulled away. Guards tightened their grips on weapons. Rumors spread like fire. "She is cursed. She betrayed her master. She will betray the humans too." The words followed them through the station, growing louder, sharper. Back on the ship, the crew argued. "This is bad," the engineer snapped. "If people believe she's dangerous, ports will close to us. No one will trade with us." The pilot slammed a fist on the table. "So what? She saved our lives twice. She'll doom us all," the engineer spat. The medic shook her head. "Fear speaks louder than truth. We cannot fight every whisper." The room turned to her. She felt their eyes heavy, full of doubt, and for the first time she spoke the words herself. "They are right." Silence fell. She rose slowly, her voice low, bitter. "Wherever I go, destruction follows. You welcomed me, but I only brought enemies. If I stay, you will all suffer. She turned to leave, but the human stood, his voice firm. No, she stopped. He stepped closer. Do you think we are fools? Do you think we did not know this would happen? You are not a curse. You are not a burden. You are part of this crew. Her throat tightened. And when the warlord comes? When he burns worlds to reach me? The human's gaze was steady. Then we stand together. Because we do not leave our own. The words hit her like a storm. The crew looked at him, then at her. Their faces were mixed, fear, doubt, but also loyalty. Even the engineer said nothing. For the first time, she felt not just trust from one human, but the start of trust from all. But the galaxy moved faster than trust could grow. That night, while the crew slept, shadows slipped into the station, assassins sent by the warlord. They moved like ghosts, silent and sharp. Blades gleamed in the dark. Their orders were clear. Kill the crew, capture the outcast alive. She woke to the sound of metal slicing air. Instinct screamed. She rolled from her bed just as a blade cut into the wall. The assassins were here. Alarms blared. The ship shook with chaos. Crew voices shouted. Doors slammed. She grabbed her blade and charged into the corridors. Shadows leapt at her. Steel clashed. Blood sprayed. She fought fiercely, her scars burning, her heart wild. But there were too many, and their leader was strong, trained by the same warlord who once owned her. The human appeared beside her, gun steady, eyes calm. He fought without hesitation, back to back with her, covering every opening she left. The assassins hissed in fury. You cannot protect them all, human. She belongs to the warlord. The human's answer was a single shot burning through their ranks. Still, the leader pressed forward, blade raised high. He struck fast and deadly. She blocked, but the force shook her. Her knees bent. Her arms trembled. For the first time, fear whispered, I cannot win this alone. But then the human's voice cut through the chaos. You are not alone. Not anymore. Her eyes blazed. Her blade rose again. And together, side by side, they pushed back the shadows. When the last assassin fell, silence filled the ship. Smoke drifted. The crew gathered, shaken but alive. She stood in the center, bloodied, scarred, but breathing. The human placed a hand on her shoulder. They will keep coming, he said quietly. Until we end it, she nodded slowly. She knew the truth. The warlord was coming. The ship was quiet after the assassin attack, but it was not peace. It was the silence before another storm. The crew patched walls and cleaned blood, their faces pale and tired. The pilot hummed no song this time. The engineer cursed under his breath, but with no energy. Even the medic's calm eyes carried worry, and she sat in the corner of the cargo bay, her blade across her knees, staring into the dark. Her enemy was not finished. The assassins were only the beginning. The warlord would come himself. She knew his hunger. She had seen his cruelty. He would burn worlds just to take back what he once owned. Her chest ached. If I stay, the crew will die. If I leave, they will live. The choice was simple, and it broke her. The human found her there. He walked in quietly, no weapon, no armor, just calm steps echoing in the silence. You're planning to leave, he said. Not a question. A truth. She didn't look at him. It is the only way. He wants me, not you. If I stay, he will destroy this ship. He will destroy all of you. The human's voice was steady. So you choose to carry this alone again? Her hand clenched the blade. I was made to be alone. I was made to fight and die. That is what I am. He stepped closer. No, that is what he made you believe. But you are more than his weapon. Her throat tightened. His words cut deeper than any blade. You don't understand, she whispered. When he calls, I feel it. The chains are still inside me. I fear if he comes close, I will break. I will return to him. Finally, she turned, her eyes sharp with pain. And if that happens, I will kill you with my own hands. Is that what you want? The human did not flinch. He met her gaze, calm, unshaken. If that happens, he said, then I will fight for you, even against you. Because you are worth fighting for, even from yourself. Her chest trembled. No one had ever said such things. No one had dared. But before she could answer, alarm screamed. The warlord's fleet had arrived. Dozens of ships filled the void outside, shadows against the stars. Massive war cruisers, sharp and merciless, surrounding the ardent dawn like predators around a wounded beast. The crew scrambled, fear written across every face. They'll tear us apart, the pilot shouted. We can't fight that many, the engineer cursed. The medic looked at her, eyes steady but grim. He's here, isn't he? She felt it before she saw it. A dark pull in her chest, an old chain tightening. The warlord's presence burned across the stars like fire in her blood. Yes, he was here. A transmission crackled through the ship. The warlord's voice filled every corridor, low, cruel, heavy with command. My blade, he growled, using the name he had given her long ago. You cannot run. You cannot hide. You belong to me. Surrender now, and I may spare your new pets. Her body shook. The chain inside her pulled harder. She felt her knees weaken. Memories flooded. His orders, his laughter, the screams she caused. The crew stared at her, fear and doubt in their eyes. Would she answer him? Would she betray them? She closed her eyes, breathing hard. The choice weighed heavy. Run to save them or stay and risk breaking. Then the human stepped forward, standing tall before the comms. She doesn't belong to you, he said firmly. She belongs to no one. The warlord's laugh shook the ship. Human, fragile insect. You dare claim what is mine? Then watch as I crush you first. The transmission ended. Weapons powered outside. The attack was seconds away. She staggered, her blade slipping from her grip. This is my fault, she whispered. You will all die for me. The human caught her arm, strong and steady. Listen to me. You have a choice, not him. Not the past you right now. Do you run, or do you fight with us? Her breath hitched. The chain pulled inside her, but his words struck harder. Choice. She had never been given choice. She had only been ordered. But now she could decide, and slowly, her trembling hand closed around the blade. She rose to her feet, eyes burning with fire. I fight, she said. The human nodded. Then we fight together. The battle began. Enemy ships fired, shaking the ardent dawn. Shields screamed, metal tore, sparks rained from the ceiling. The crew shouted orders, panic in their voices. Boarders crashed into the halls, heavily armed soldiers loyal to the warlord. The corridors became fire and blood, and she was in the heart of it. She fought with fury, but this time it was different. Not alone, not lost. The human was beside her, steady, unshaken. The crew fought too, clumsy but brave, trusting her to lead them. Every strike of her blade felt lighter. Every scar felt less heavy, because for the first time she was not fighting as the warlord's weapon. She was fighting as their shield. The enemy pressed hard. The crew bled. The ship groaned under fire. But she did not fall. At last the warlord's voice roared through the comms again. You cannot win, Broken Blade. You will kneel before me again. She stood in the blood-stained corridor, chest heaving, blade glowing. Her voice was steady. No, I kneel to no one. The battle was not yet over. The warlord had not yet stepped onto the field. But for the first time the chains inside her cracked. She had chosen not to run, not to surrender, to fight. And in that choice, she felt something powerful, something dangerous, something new. Hope. The warlord's fleet burned against the stars, blotting out light like a storm of fire. His voice still echoed in her mind, pulling on the old chains. But inside her chest, something had changed. She had chosen. The crew of the Ardent Dawn scrambled across the ship, holding back boarders, repairing systems, keeping shields alive. Every second was borrowed time. She knew the truth. This battle would not end with ships. It would end with him. At last his flagship loomed ahead, massive, dark, a monster of steel and shadow. A docking bridge extended, slamming into the side of the Ardent Dawn. The air grew cold. The lights flickered. The sound of metal boots filled the corridor. And then he came. The warlord. He was larger than she remembered, armored like a beast, his eyes glowing with hunger. His voice rumbled through the air. My blade, he growled. You run with insects. You shame yourself with weak creatures. Come, kneel, serve again. It is the only place for you. The crew stood frozen, fear thick in the air. None dared move. She stepped forward. Her scars burned. Her chest ached, but her blade was steady in her hand. I am not your blade, she said, her voice sharp, steady. Not anymore. The warlord laughed, deep and cruel. You think these humans freed you? No, you are broken. You will always be mine. He raised his weapon, a massive sword crackling with dark energy. The duel had begun. The clash shook the corridor. Sparks flew as steel met steel. Her arms trembled under the force of his strikes. Every blow was heavy, pressing her down, reminding her of the chains. Submit, he roared, driving her back. Her knees buckled. Memories screamed, battles, orders, chains, blood. She almost fell. But then another voice cut through the chaos. The human. You are not alone, he shouted from behind the crew. His voice rang louder than the warlord's. Her eyes burned. She rose, blocking the next strike. Her arms shook, but her heart was steady. I am not yours, she snarled. I am mine, she struck back. The duel raged through the ship. Corridors cracked under the power of their blades. Sparks rained. Walls shattered. The crew fought to keep soldiers away while she faced the warlord alone. Each strike was a war between past and present. His voice whispered chains, hers screamed freedom. You were nothing without me, he bellowed. She roared back. I was nothing because of you. Her blade moved faster, sharper, fueled not by rage alone, but by something stronger. Hope. The warlord staggered under her strikes. But he was not done. With a furious cry, he slammed her back against the wall, his blade at her throat. The crew gasped. The chain inside her screamed to break, to surrender, to kneel. For a moment, she saw herself falling again into the dark. But then, she looked past him. She saw the crew, battered but standing. The pilot gripping his weapon. The engineer covered in smoke but alive. The medic holding a wounded arm but steady. And the human. His eyes locked on hers. Calm, certain, trusting. She heard his words in her mind. If you break, I will fight for you. Even against you. Her trembling hand tightened on her blade. Not this time. With a cry that shook the corridor, she pushed back. Sparks exploded. Steel screamed. She broke free. The warlord stumbled. She rose, fire burning in her scars. This ends now, she said. The final clash was brutal. Faster. Harder. Every strike carried years of chains, and every block shattered them. She fought not as his weapon, but as her own. At last her blade struck true. His sword shattered. His armor cracked. He fell to one knee, blood spilling. The corridor went silent. The crew stared, holding their breath. She raised her blade for the final strike. Her scars burned with rage, with pain, with memory. One swing could end it all, but then she stopped, her chest heaved. Her hand trembled. She could kill him. But killing him would not break the chains, choosing mercy would. She lowered her blade. The warlord stared at her, disbelief in his eyes. You dare spare me? He gasped. I dare be free, she answered. And with that, she turned away. The warlord roared in fury, but his soldiers pulled him back. Broken, humiliated, defeated, not by death but by her choice. The battle ended. His fleet retreated, dragging their master with them. The stars grew quiet again. The crew of the Ardent Dawn stood together, exhausted but alive. She stood among them, her blade still in hand, but it felt lighter now. Not a chain, not a curse, a tool, a choice. The human stepped closer, his hand steady as ever. He met her eyes. You chose, he said softly. She nodded. I chose. And for the first time she felt it fully. Not fear, not chains, not loneliness. Belonging. The galaxy had called her broken, cursed, unwanted. But now she knew the truth. No one wanted her, until a human held out his hand, and because of that, she had found herself again.